Hey everyone, welcome to another Arty Wednesday. It's me, Merrill. Today we are going to learn how to make a car out of the core of a toilet paper roll. These are the art supplies that you will need for your car today. We're going to first start by painting this cylindrical roll that is actually what holds toilet paper together. It's the inside of the toilet paper roll. The color that I have chosen for this is yellow acrylic color. So this is what I'm going to be using to paint this roll. However, if you don't have paint, that's okay. You can just use paper, colored paper, and stick it all around this before we move on to the next step. So let's begin painting first. I'm going to be using this flat brush and do my first layer of paint. I will probably do 2 layers so that the paint looks thicker, the paint job looks better. I'm gonna now let this dry. It shouldn't take long because it's acrylic paint. While this is drying out, I'm gonna move on to another step. Let me move this aside. As you may have noticed, I've put paper down over my working surface because I don't want to dirty it. Acrylic paint does tend to stick on, so you don't want to end up having to scrub your working surface. So always lay out some kind of I've laid out newspaper, which is going to help not dirty my otherwise lovely surface. So for this next step, I'm going to take any kind of cardboard. It's nice if you can manage getting a thick one. I'm going to take this and grab a hold of a pen, any kind of pen or pencil, and take any kind of container or stencil to draw out 4 wheels and 1 steering wheel. So I'm going to first draw out my wheels. And acrylic paint shouldn't take that long to dry. I think in about 15 minutes, if you have the fan on, it dries out very quickly. So while it is drying out, let's do our wheels and steering wheel. So those are my 4 wheels and 1 steering wheel. And for the steering wheel, I'm going to use a slightly smaller side of this little container that I found. So that's it. Next, using our scissors, we want to cut out these circles. So let's go. That's it. Next, I'm going to paint the 4 wheels in black acrylic paint. Again, this is what I'm going to be using. What I'm going to do next is clean my hands before the next step. So you can grab any kind of white paper for this next step. Mine is just a old paper which has one side used. I'm going to grab that and place my steering wheel on top of the paper. Draw a cutout whoops, of the steering wheel and then cut around this. We're gonna keep another little strip of paper, like a tiny bit, and I'm gonna show you why, but we're gonna keep this paper handy, this little piece. Okay, next I'm gonna grab my glue, use any kind of glue, and we're gonna stick on this on top of this cardboard. You could just paint it white, but it was too little to take out my acrylic white color just to paint this tiny bit. And also because I want to draw some detail of the steering wheel on it, so paper I thought would work out better than paint in this situation. So that's my steering wheel, and I want to draw something on. So I'm going to draw a little round center, and I'm going to draw lines just across like that, sort of dividing this into 3 parts, like almost like a regular, steering wheel. I'm just going to give it some sort of detail, and I'm going to keep this aside. I'm just going to check if the first layer of the paint is dry, and you see acrylic paint dries very quickly, so this is sort of dry and I can give it one more coat before my next step. Now, like before, I'm gonna let this dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna wash my hands and wash my brush and keep all the paint supplies away. Okay, so looks like everything is nice and dry, just like I want it. Just checking again to make sure. Now we're gonna put our car together. So for that, I'm going to try and find an approximate center of this and then make a hole. I'm going to use this screw that I have and try and make a hole. And like I always say, when you're trying to poke a hole into something, make sure your finger is not on the other side of it, so you don't get, your finger hurt. So be very careful. So I'm going to go ahead and poke an approximate center in all of these. If you're not sure where the center is, you are free to try and measure it or something. There we go. Next, what I want to do is cut out a hole in this. So I'm going to grab my paper cutter. I'm going to leave, so I want the front to be longer and the back to be shorter. So I'm going to leave about this much and then make my hole. Be very careful. If you're not used to using a cutter, please ask someone else, an adult in your house, for help, okay? Because this part can be a bit tricky. I'm having a bit of a problem because my cutter is not too sharp. Maybe I can finish it off with a pair of scissors. Okay, so I got this part. That's sort of, unfortunately, it's become really untidy. This is not how I wanted it to be. But gonna just roll with it now. Okay, so then what you'll have is you're gonna have this flap sticking out. What I want to do is fold this flap into half sort of like it so that it becomes like a backrest of the car. Okay, I'm going to use Fevicol or glue to stick it up so it doesn't look so open. There we go. Just gonna let this dry up. I'm gonna come back for the next part. So this is almost dry, but I'm not too happy with what happened to the sides of this. So I'm gonna just do a little paint touch up. See that? Much better. That happened because my paper cutter was not too strong. I couldn't find my other better one. So I'm going to let this dry now, and then I'm going to come back for our next step. In order for you to see better, I have taken out the paper now that we're no longer using paint, and all the paint that we used has all dried up. So for this next part, again I'm going to grab that screw and I'm going to make a hole, like 4 holes, so I can fit my wheels in it. So one here, one here, and now the other side. So one here. I'm doing an approximate, I'm just approximately judging where I want my wheels, but if you're the kind of person who's wants to be more accurate and stuff, then you can measure, use a ruler and measure it properly. Now I have these clips. Let me show you. This is how they look. So what's so special about them is that they sort of open up, and then I can use them to clip anything together. It's like a paper clip. Okay, I got this off Amazon. If you don't have this, it's fine. Just use Fevicol and you can stick your wheels on. You don't need to use these at all. But since I had them at home, I said why not show them to you and then also use them. So I'm gonna first insert it into the hole of the wheel, then insert it into the other hole here, and if you can see the inside of it, I'm gonna open up the pin like that, so it sort of holds and my wheel can turn around then. Cooler. I'm going to do the same thing on all 4 sides. We've got all our 4 wheels on. Now we're going to attach our steering wheel. For that, I'm going to grab my glue, put a little glue on this paper like this, insert the paper under this part and stick it on. So it leaves like sort of like a flap on top. And I'm going to stick my wheel to this flap, the steering wheel. Again, put some glue on and stick on your steering wheel. And that's it. We have our car.
you like our videos, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.